I genuinely do believe there will probably be a mass internet exodus
Yeah.
within 25, 30 years. And I think at some point Frank Herbert
That's a
predicted
long
it.
time frame.
We're gonna get a Butlerian jihad. We're just gonna get rid of all the robots, all the automation,
Well,
and we're gonna go back to techno-feudalism.
All right. Let's send it, guys. It's
oh my God.
hip replacement episode number 35. Well, Kyle, we're back with our resident Gen Z guest, series producer Campbell. We had another scheduled guest drop out, and so our intrepid producer volunteered to throw himself into the mix there.
What would we do without you,
How are
Campbell?
you?
Welcome back.
No, there probably wouldn't be a show. There probably wouldn't be a show. So
This is
everybody,
true.
I want to see some Campbell love in the comments. Come on,
Some
guys.
Campbell. Okay,
Help me
that's
out.
Sound off, y'all.
you heard it here, folks. All of
Sound
you
off,
that
hip
are
replacers.
if you're yeah, that's actually right. We've got to get our starts in now. Now that we're being credited as a must listen for anyone interested in intergenerational affairs, we have to get our fan base going and our
Fandom.
merch and so on and so forth. Hip
Yes.
Yeah.
replacers.
Hip
Wow.
replacers.
There we go.
Did that on the spot.
See, how about this? This is what this episode is going to be like, guys. This is what you're in for. We have no guests, and so it's just going to be an on-air brainstorm about all of the, weird ways we can expand this the little
God.
world of hip replacement. Well, Kyle, I have to say the story that you sent me, which I don't know is generational so much as it's just about the present moment, and I think probably has to do with how we all interact with the news, was Dasha Nekrasova getting canceled from her film contract for appearing with Nick Fuentes. I have to confess, until you sent this link, I had not heard about this incident. So Dasha,
Oh, okay.
one half of the infamous Red Scare podcast, scene queen from Dime Square, one season appearance on Succession, actor of note, and was started out as a kind of a libtard troll back in the day in her sailor outfit, and became the avatar of the right so far that she appeared with Nick Fuentes last week. But that's 100% of what I got. Please, in
I mean,
your
that's basically it. It's
characteristic
like,
way, explain.
yeah, I mean, that's basically it. Is like, it's funny because like the conversation around Dasha for so long, obviously exactly to what you said, has always been like, this sort of button pusher, sort of like
Right.
contextualizing very right wing and very sort of like bad talking points and cultures as alt, which is like there's a whole legacy of that. And like a good example is like, on Twitter now there's a whole to do about, I'm forgetting the name of the act, but Juju did a show with this guy who was like, it's this artist who is called like, African new music or something, and like he literally did it in like a KKK wizard costume that was like in a floral tapestry, and people just assumed that this was a black
This was
person.
not Kanye West.
No, but then like backstage,
yeah, okay.
Juju outed them, and they were like, "This is a white guy," and like this is awful. And so it's a big hullabaloo, all to connect the dots of like alt spaces sort of like appropriating and ironically trafficking in these things, and then actually doing these things. And Dasha is a really good example of that. And she did that a bit too close to the sun finally and got repercussions. Like she's been on Tucker Carlson. She's done this stuff before. But this somehow...
Well, I didn't understand the repercussions. What were the repercussions?
Well, she got dropped from her, like, from Gersh, which is her big, like, talent agency.
Okay.
There was another big one. I'm forgetting exactly what it was. But, like, I think she was dropped from another major project. I'm forgetting what it was. But, like, the Gersh...
there's like a feature-length movie that she was going to be in, and they dropped her from it because of the controversy.
Got it. Okay,
Essentially,
so
she just got like
professionally canceled.
Yeah. Absolutely.
She got like pseudo blacklisted, basically.
Yeah. Which is surprising because like they put up with a lot of shit in a way. And like, I'm impressed that like the Hollywood apparatus was like Nick Fuentes is a bridge too far, given how much caving the industry has done to things this year. So like that was actually I
Sure.
was like, oh, huh, we're starting to like grow a spine. Like this is
We've
lovely. So like
we've
that was
we finally found the bridge that led
yeah,
to Too Far,
yeah. And so like a
and
lot of the
its name
conversation
was
around
Nick
it is
Fuentes.
like yeah, a lot of the conversation around it is like, wow, like woke is actually back.
Well, I think that's
Well,
it's not even I'm not
it's not
even
back yet.
disputing the veracity of that. I'm more like careful what you wish for type thing, because the minute we start making pronouncements like that again,
Then it
a whole
collapses.
series of other liberties get taken, which probably aren't in anybody's best interest either. Campbell, I am curious. Do you have visibility? Do your friends, does your community have visibility to A, Dasha, B, Red Square or Red Scare, C, Nick Fuentes, or is this all like in the echo chamber in which Kyle and I exist as media professionals?
I think I think the thing that's going on recently, especially post Charlie Kirk's death, is that people are sort of having this really uncomfortable conversation, especially on the right, about like, well, we got here by appealing to a certain level of alt-rightism, of, you know, we're th like the whole Trump campaign was effectively marketed towards the people who like felt disenfranchised by woke. It's a very pervasive idea in the alt-right because they got pushed, well, they were already fringe, but they got pushed further into the fringes, and it like stopped them from potentially being mainstream in the future. And now people are starting to have to like have this reckoning of like, oh, so we did run with this, we did use the slang, we did like, whether or not they did it ironically or unironically, endorse some of the things and the ideas behind this
Hmm.
movement. And now that this is the mainstream, now that we're having UFC fights in the White House lawn, is this like, is this where we're supposed to go? Because Nick Fuentes, you can say whatever you want about him. He's a person who advocates for some very inherently extreme beliefs.
Hmm.
That's just like undisputable.
But you didn't really answer my question, which is, are these
Sorry.
like, do you, no, no, what I just want to understand is, it's like, do people in your, social circle, your cohort, whatever, track Dasha, Red Scare, Nick Fuentes? Are they aware of these things on any kind of real and regular basis, or is it just like
I think it's
existing off of some
basic.
plane?
I think it's basically entirely contained to clip culture mostly. Like
Right.
I
Okay,
don't watch America First or any of the live streams. What is it, like Cozy TV that Nick Fuentes uses? Something like that, because he's not on YouTube.
no idea.
But I for Dasha and Red Scare, no. I mean the only thing I've seen of them was the clips from when Nick Fuentes was on their
Hmm.
show. Or like
Okay.
something like
I feel
that.
like she
It's
is
it's it's all
definitely
very contained in
yeah.
clips.
She's a bit more, I would say, like millennial, and even then, like I feel like her stuff doesn't even cross my desk that often. Things Nick Fuentes does more than her, but like she's trafficking in a very specific space. Obviously, also again, like I don't think the overlap in like the queer political space, like that's why I get more of Nick Fuentes because he's sort of trafficking in the fringes of that. She's not. She's a more like that
Yeah.
dude space. But I do think that there's like this to what you said, Campbell, and to this whole thing. Like there is a larger discussions happening around sort of like obviously alt-right ideologies. It's sort of the ways in which that sort of manifests and shows up in popular culture. And I think a really good example of that are just like the Kirkification memes, which are like they are hilarious and they're like, look, I love them, I laugh at every one of them. However, there is a sort of like, is this at the end of the day, not by design, because I don't think this came from the right at all, is this ultimately become propaganda for such ideologies and such thinking? And like there is a world, I saw really good, I'm forgetting his name, this guy on TikTok who's a linguist who's been studying this, and he made a post about this today, or maybe it was yesterday, about how it's like, it's less about the language or the even visual of it. It's more that like it trains your algorithm to then reward you with like actual Charlie Kirk things. So like that is
Sure.
interesting because like it's less about the meme doing the work, but like the visual language and the associated search terms, let's say, then kicks up actual Talking Points USA things. So like if you don't have that sort of like literacy or legibility with like online interactions, like you could easily fall into something like that's interesting and like it's a Nick Fuentes video.
Yeah, to jump in on that, I think, sorry to interrupt, Dad. I think one of the things that I find most fascinating about like the Kirkify meme is that in a lot of ways it's very reminiscent of what the right had done to George Floyd like post
Yeah,
2022. This was like especially after I don't know if it was specifically Vigil AI, but like the AIs where it's like you can basically what's the word? It's a certain type of animation. I'm forgetting the name. Rotoscope. It's like digital
right.
Oh,
rotoscoping
sure. Okay.
powered by AI, like rotoscoping onto clips and stuff. And there was a lot of stuff of like people are pasting George Floyd's face onto like Hitler and they're saying like I can't paint and like crazy shit like that.
Right.
And I think that this is sort of like an inverse of that. It's almost swinging the other way. But I do agree, Kyle. I think your idea of like this can serve as something ultimately for the alt-right pipeline. That's a very interesting observation that I think honestly, if there are like alt-right right-wing strategists that are thinking in terms of online recruitment, that could be like an avenue that they could
Crank them
pursue.
out, get them even crazier. Like that's
Yeah,
all they have to do. Like
exactly.
they don't have to do that much. And like that's again, it's the same thing with it's like we saw what happened with that with the JD Vance memes. Like you saw what happened. Like then when
Yeah,
he's posting it,
exactly.
like even though it's making fun of him and like the Kirkified things, like that's a part of it. No one was doing it adoring him. Like it very quickly becomes then like a commercial. I mean, it is a commercial. Like ultimately, that's why it's like I'd be really careful with that shit.
Yeah.
Well, and especially because, as we saw in this Economist article, the real screen addicted demographic is the elderly.
Absolutely.
And so, you're gonna change, you're gonna sink grandpa into an even deeper hole. Grandmom is gonna continue, she's gonna get even further down the Fox News hole. I'm being facetious a little bit, but it is a concern, obviously, when if the algorithm is the thing, um, amping up the volume, and the people that truly can't turn away are those that both A, vote in the greatest numbers, B, control the greatest share of wealth, and C, are the least likely to change their minds. It just as their neuroplasticity decreases, there is that concern. I don't know, Kyle. I certainly have what I would call screen addicted person in my life, from the older generations, and I think he would argue that he is incredibly well informed, and I don't think I'm actually prone to disagree with that argument. I think he probably is, but he also gets a lot of stuff from sources that I think are dubious at best
Right.
and, possibly deleterious. Uh, How about you?
So it's funny. I have a few things on this. It's like I mean, it's a real thing. It's like it's been the sort of like iPad grandma, grandpa, grandparent thing has definitely been a thing, and like be it from Reels, which is notoriously has been like this sort of grandparent space, to Facebook, which is now just a domain of the boomer. It definitely is a thing, and like I've definitely had been accompanied to or it's been a discussion where like my dad might raise something and I'm like that's not true, and like it
Right.
becoming a thing, but it just reveals like this is true of all of us, is that like there are just so many odd infrastructures for every sort of culture and ways of thinking, and like the sources that he's pulling, I'm like that's not a real site, but also like it doesn't matter because it's like that's his whole culture and his whole world. Like I'm never gonna know that like this fan of a specific Fox News host has a specific blog where they post news that's in her world. I'm never going to come across that. Fox, yes, maybe her, but not these subculture fan sites that are spitting out shit. Another example, and this was actually happened, I think, in 2016, 2017, was I found my grandmother's like Twitter account, and it was like insane. And like like it was that was like a sort of taste of where we are now. And like she's now almost 90 or something, but like I remember finding that, or like maybe my sister shared it with me and being like, holy shit. Like it was so much of this like brain rot of like she's watching Fox News or whatever and just scrolling through Twitter and like responding to like Trump and being like all this sort of stuff. And like she ate all the pills that were given to her. And like that happens now and again the more sophisticated ways. Like think well, no, it's happening to someone's grandma now, or like that is happening, but with AI. And it's like, that's where it's like, oh my God. It's just so much more actual fake news now, which I think is the difficulty.
Yeah, I mean, this Economist article talks a little bit about the advantages to not screen addiction. I don't think it characterizes it that way, but to screen access and to the idea of older audiences interacting with screens in a more healthy way than young people do because they have pre-existing social graphs, or they have maybe they have a degree of, let's say, mobility impairment or cognitive decline that can be helped by the connection to or the therapies that come from the devices. And I think all of that is valid, but it is more of a concern from a disinformation and slot perspective, both in terms of filling the heads of voters with bad information, and on the other hand, just generally making it more difficult for all of us to have a nice conversation at Thanksgiving.
Well, yes, absolutely. What I was going to say is that the assumption, maybe not in this article, but I think the assumption that everybody sort of has, which goes in the inverse too, because there's a lot of talk about this with kids, is that like these spaces weren't designed for that person. It was designed for like us, all of us who are pretty literate, able to understand like, oh, that's an AI tag on the bottom, or like this is satire. Like we can sort of like get that. But if you aren't, for example, like if your site isn't as good, you might not see the very tiny AI tag, and like that. Why would you? Or you might not see some video where like someone has like 7 fingers. Like, why would you? Because like you are under the assumption that this is all not necessarily truthful, but like this is all being made in a way. And on the flip side, like that's how you have like the kids, there's no way to shut it off because it wasn't made to be shut off because it's not for them. So it's a funny thing, and I wouldn't be surprised if nothing's going to come of it given where social media billionaires are right now, but like in an ideal world there would be a larger discussion about like tweaking these systems to actually work for different age groups and meet them where they are. That's not going to happen.
That's interesting. I listened to somebody over the weekend talking about how I'll try to remember who it is as we go. Sorry, listeners, going through my brain fog here. But somebody who was close to the Silicon Valley elite and was basically saying the kowtowing to the Trump administration and to just generally like the government was a mistake that is starting to be walked back and regretted. And that's an interesting vector to me. I wonder whether that will be the case or not, or whether in fact we will all just get overwhelmed, as we increasingly have been, by AI, as in this Stereogum article, getting killed by AI that you sent. Campbell, you are in an interesting spot because you're on the one hand a couple of years from finishing your undergraduate degree and theoretically entering the workforce, and on the other hand you're at the cutting edge. You're at a research university. You're at the cutting edge of like technology and culture, if you want to be anyway. When you read something like the charts are being overtaken by AI and we have a #1 country record written by a fake band this week, does it give you pause? Are you concerned? Do you think there's an opportunity for me because the olds will never understand this as well as I do? Do you hear it from your classmates? Like what does the youth think about this AI stuff right now?
Um, I mean, I'd say the weird thing is that for for me personally, I never really got a concept of like truly all the development and work that went into AI. It's just sort of like it was just like one day I heard about ChatGPT and I was like, oh, this can write your essays for you. And I was like, oh, sick. I get to not do my work,
I
which
know. And then
is a
you get
bad
to
it's a
get
bad
Amazing.
attitude to have.
and then you get to get caught not doing your
Oh
work
my God.
and get penalized for it. So,
You're actually
yeah.
gonna blow me up on the pod,
I
bro. On
didn't
the
blow
pod.
anybody up. Not about to
Cap.
blow anybody up.
That's cap.
Self blow
But
up.
That's cat. Cell phone,
but
exactly right.
back to my point, I think a lot of
Go back and
people.
review the transcript. I didn't say anything.
All right, Dad. All right.
Yeah. All
This
right.
ain't court. This ain't court, bro. This ain't court.
Okay.
Calm down, little bro.
It's the people's
Um,
court.
it's people's court of hip replacement. But anyways, I think that a lot of people, especially in my age demographic, obviously recognize that there is a lot of utility in AI. Like I was talking to someone walking back from class today who was saying like he was writing a script for our script writing class and he put it into ChatGPT to check if he had any continuity errors to like make sure that his story was all uniform and made sense. And so stuff like that I think is really it's a really novel everyday sort of use to it. And so I don't see it personally as that big of a threat because I don't use it on a day-to-day basis. I'm not like seeing how this could be taking my job. But I certainly do think about like just the speed at which it's progressing. Like I think within 5 years, there probably will be an AI service, paid or not, that can emulate real video to a pretty convincing degree for most people. Like I think
I mean, we're nearly
it's
there.
already getting to that point now, but I feel like when we get to the point where you have people who are genuinely confused, like they cannot tell for the life of them, that's where it gets really interesting from a hypothetical standpoint, I think.
Sure. But I mean, look, yeah, I think to Kyle's point, we're there now, right? Like Sora
Yeah.
2 and Veo is doing that convincingly. Not certainly not perfectly, but
It's
convincingly enough.
I think the line that will be drawn to your point, Campbell, is like that will happen when it's like actually a mass duping, like, okay, this video of Donald Trump or this video of Kamala or whoever that
Mm.
convinces a good amount of people. We already saw, like, the SNAP benefit video making it on Fox News as if credible. We've already seen over the summer, and like this is smaller, but like the rabbits on the trampoline, the kangaroo at the airport. There was another big one, like those mass duping of people who are otherwise like very online and very concerned with it and able to not have that happen to them, and that's happened now multiple times. So like I think to your point, like I would, it's probably going to happen in the next year. I mean, probably going to happen around the midterms, honestly. Is like something will
Yeah,
happen where it's like a mass like come to Jesus moment of like, wow, that was really fucked up. And like that was like a really big, like, we all got duped. We're getting close to it, unfortunately.
I don't think I don't disagree with that at all. And I feel like it's less the disinformation and hoax question that I'm asking and more a question of, is there some sensation that, college graduates are going to be replaced
Right.
by bots or that the film industry writ large or the music industry writ large is going to disappear by virtue of the fact that these things can be created autonomously. I'm a bear on all of that stuff. I just feel like the 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 quality doesn't hold well enough, long enough to really be a replacement, and instead it continues to be as it is in other places, like your friend's proofreading thing, an accelerant or a tool. But then again, I also have the luxury of not having to worry about getting my first
Right.
job because that happened to me 30 years ago.
Yeah, I'd say I think nobody really is like super alarmist about it. Nobody's like, AI is coming for my job. I'm screwed. I need to drop out and like start drop shipping or whatever.
They
Do
start
whatever
looking
the
around
secret,
Drop
The
shipping.
TikTok financial meta is
Right.
right now.
Well, it's interesting. We've talked a little bit about this in the past, but the building that I'm sitting in today to record the pod, WSA in New York, is covered in construction hoardings because there's construction going on, and those of course get wheat pasted. And there's a giant campaign that just went up, I presume, probably overnight, for Polymarket coming back into the States. And you sort of wonder to what extent, Campbell, yeah, the your cohort is going, all right, the uncertainty as it relates to all of these developments with technology and the economy and inflation and so on and so forth is bringing me to a place where I need to find either certainty and or opportunity through, betting markets and that sort of thing. And I got to say, Polymarket's doing a good job with its creative. It's got a huge eagle. Polymarket's now available in the
Oh my
greatest country in the
God.
world. It's really tapping into
Jeez.
the capital A America kind of vibe. It's
think I think I think I don't think it's going to last long term, personally. I don't think AI is going to be something that we use beyond a certain point. Because I feel like the best thing that AI is capable of, as you sort of touched on, Dad, with the whole comment about like it's not the quality doesn't hold, it's just good at putting out stuff. It's just good at putting out
right.
like spitting back stuff for prompts. And I feel like we're already sort of getting to this point with, like, as you said, the AI videos that no one can tell. I feel like we're getting to the point where there's just so much noise online that eventually, I think this was something you were talking about last week, Kyle. I feel like I genuinely do believe there will probably be a mass internet exodus
Yeah.
within 25, 30 years. And I think at some point, Frank Herbert
That's a
predicted
long
it.
time frame.
We're gonna get a Butlerian jihad. We're just gonna get rid of all the robots, all the automation,
Well,
and we're gonna go back to techno-feudalism. Dune
yeah.
is
I
the
Did you
mean,
say
future.
wait, what? A Butlerian jihad with techno-feudalism?
Yeah, that's in Dune in the books. The reason that they don't have robots or anything is because they destroyed them all like a million
right,
years ago.
right,
They just all agreed like they're more trouble than they're worth. So
right.
Oh,
we're
okay.
gonna get
There's
rid of
this
them.
is Frank Herbert non-reader outed here. Why you
Yeah,
putting me on blast on the pod?
exposed.
I know, right? Honestly. Jeez. Speaking of, by the way, I wanted to quickly pivot for a little bit of self-promotion. Um, the book Blank Space: The History of the First Quarter of the 21st Century by W. David Marks comes out tomorrow, and I am listed as a witness in it,
What does that
not
mean?
as a
Like a
source,
source?
not
Yeah.
not as a source,
Okay.
not as I'm not in, my name is doesn't appear in the story of it, but David and I had a conversation while he was prepping for it, and he listed me and a few other people as witnesses, and it got me thinking about being a witness to the present moment and how much of the total developments in the world, I am able to actually, bear witness to or to consume. Kyle, what struck me in reading this book, which goes into great detail, much greater detail than I expected it to, actually, about all of the different cultural vectors that inform where we've gotten to. Um, it occurred to me that I am probably witnessing a much wider swath of stuff now than I did before.
Hmm.
And yet, that wider swath of stuff seems flatter to me than ever in the past. And I don't, so I'm posing this question to you because I wonder whether you feel something like that. Because I wonder, is that a function of my age and, relative infirmity, mentally speaking, or is it the fact that truly everything has because the aperture has gotten so wide, the sort of height of the peaks has decreased.
I mean, that's like a really
Does
that's
that make
a
sense? Like you're looking at a mountain range from
right.
a long distance. It seems much less tall than if you were standing right in front of it.
Well, yeah, that's a very interesting idea and thought that I haven't really considered. And now I, to me at least, and I think again, this is a different experience from you, obviously, given my age and sort of like coming of age with such technologies, is that like to me it feels like it is sort of like grown up with me, if that makes sense. So like
Sure.
that it as I keep learning things and aging, so do the technologies, and they're also opening up and aging and becoming more wide as I am. So, like,
hmm
that is, even though I do know when I was younger, I could only look at books and TV and these sort of specific appointment based information inputs. Um, Now, obviously, those have evolved and changed. It's very different. And, like, I can reflect and contrast those, but, like, I will never in ways be able to have the experience that you had, which I'd not thought about, because like it to me it's always felt like, like it is growing up with me, and that means that it's also expanding and like growing and learning too, in a way, which I don't think is probably an uncommon experience for most millennials and probably some of Gen Z. I think where this might start to break down, I think we've already gotten glimpses of this, is like when you start to notice that other people, particularly younger people, don't have that same knowledge as you do, if that makes
hmm
sense. And that's when it starts to
But
like, you see it. Meaning that, like,
well, that's
yeah. But like a really good
no.
example is
I
like,
mean,
when a young person, quote unquote, maybe this is you, Campbell, maybe it's not, but I definitely have worked with people who are like, I don't know how to find X thing in my Google Drive or on my computer. It's like, it's not organized. And it's like, no, I just search. I'm like, that is wild to me. Like that's a very different way of looking at and understanding information. And like again, like that is a very, and I'm sure Ben, you do this. Campbell, I don't know if you do that, but I know a lot of younger people, they don't have that relationship with technology, and like that is a way of understanding and categorizing information in a very, not linear is the wrong word, but like it's in a way that's like I'm managing it as we're going versus like it's all just coming at me, I don't care, like I can just sort of like search it, I don't need to organize this.
right. Well, it presumes that the information, having wanted to be free and made itself free, will always be freely available,
Right.
which
Right.
as we're starting to see, is not the case, right? I think the Internet Archive last week announced that it had archived its trillionth web page, but many of those trillion web pages have disappeared from active servers or
Yeah.
the ability to access them directly. Campbell, do you feel like do you have access to all of the information you want? Do you feel like you can consume everything that you not necessarily even want to, but like, can you consume to your capacity?
Yeah, I'd certainly say I can consume to capacity. I don't really know. I think if there was one thing about the internet that I wish I could access more easily, it would probably just be like movies. I think
Mm,
as as
That's interesting.
everything has evolved. Obviously, everybody has like a way to get something for free, hypothetically. Like I have a friend who he doesn't really like if he can't afford to go see a movie in a theater, he doesn't think it's interesting, he'll like pirate it. He'll find a website where it has free access and he'll use it. And like that's illegal, but do I want to pay $30 to watch premium video on demand of this new movie when I can get it for the same quality for free, bending the law? I think a lot of people, because of the internet, there has evolved like this culture of free, and everybody has a certain expectation that things should be free and you should have easy, unpaid access to a lot of things. But I feel like because of that, now we're getting to the point where everything is becoming paid now. Everything is becoming a
Hmm.
subscription. And so I feel like I don't really have the optimal access to what I want to see, but I think that's fair to a certain extent.
Well,
yeah,
that's
well, I mean,
like,
yeah,
Go ahead,
The
Ben.
question is more, can you consume to capacity? You can. Whether that's what you want to consume is a different story. So anyway,
Yeah.
Well, something like it's so interesting that you say that because I think that this is like going to be a large, and it already is a conversation, especially around like media, like movies, media, music, especially like older things, more niche things. Like they're not as available as they used to be like 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Like I remember going to fucking like deepdiscountdvds.com or whatever and being able to buy like a very rare like Italian horror movie from like the 1970s and like being able to find it easily. Yes, did I have to pay for like the actual DVD and get it shipped? Yes. That cost some money, but then I had it and like I didn't have to deal with it unless the DVD or the thing broke. Now like those media items like you can't really find, and like these sort of ways the funnel is sort of closing and being able to even learn about it and then to be able to find it, like that's becoming more difficult. And like in ways like that's sort of like, yeah, we're all sharing the same sort of like cult camp whatever classics, but like I remember like this is something you've not had access to, Campbell, like maybe for like when you were 5 years old, I could be wrong, is like that experience of being able to go to the local video store or like Amoeba Records in LA, for example, and just sort of like get lost looking at things and discover new things. In that sense, like that is like because the pool is now infinite, that it does mean like there's so much I don't know where to begin. I also don't care. You come to me. But that then also means once I do discover something, it's actually pretty shallow. Like I can't actually like go that deep. And maybe if you live in New York, maybe if you live in LA, you still can do this because there's some odd, you know, DVD or video stores. But like it's those things, which goes actually to the stereo gum story, is that like we're reaching a point, like this is starting to concern me. It's like where the technologies are ripping off and copying and whatever from a lot of human sources like stereo gum, for example, like Blavity. They've been talking about this too. And they're effectively running those institutions out of business, which is also similarly what happened with DVDs, VHS, et cetera, et cetera. Not that we needed those, but like, again, walk with me. And then like it's going to come to a point where like the AI or whatever technology closes down stereo gum, unfortunately, or Blavity or whatever. And then that information isn't being updated. So you lose key, diverse, like world widening inputs because all they're doing is scraping and people aren't visiting these places. And a similar thing is going to happen is that like, you know, I can't then go to the video store and look around because like I was able to scroll on my phone and see what was available. And like, that's not, I'm not saying one is better than the other, but I am saying is that like, as these technologies change, certain, the funnel gets smaller. And that is like where it gets a bit concerning.
yeah, there's an interesting trend afoot, at least here in New York, that not only sort of leans into that eventuality but resists it in that um, there are all these lending libraries popping up
Interesting.
where I've come across I think three of them in the last week or so where people have archives of visual material that is not on the internet that they are keeping in hard media format and are now letting people come into and access. So, for instance, there's one at 180 Maiden Lane that's called Library 180, and it's thousands of magazines from the late 80s through 2012, where this woman who's a visual archivist has essentially made her collection available for people to go see. It's by appointment only, but when you go, you can then take photographs of any of the material that you find. You can use that for your own research or recapitulation purposes. It's like a mood board gold mine. Um, but there's that one. There's one that is associated with Lycan, the design and secondhand store in Ridgewood, and there's a third one whose name escapes me at the moment as well. But it's interesting to think like those of us who were timed well enough to accumulate physical media are now going, all right, we're going to make this available to people, and the youngsters Campbell's age are going, I didn't know such a thing existed,
Right.
and kind of tripping out on it. Um,
Another interesting thing
it's
with that.
remarkable. No, but
Okay.
hold on, but there's an interesting contrast, and I want to get your reactions on it. The Getty Museum, not to be clear, Getty Images, which is a whole different business with that name, but the Getty Museum in LA just last week upgraded all of its collections to some sort of Creative Commons license. And you can now download from the Getty site any image in the Getty collection and do with it anything you want. And they made an Instagram video that's literally like, you want to put Van Gogh on an apron? Go for it. It's like, you want to wrap your car
Huh.
in Ed Ruscha? Go for it. And I'm was kind of stunned by it, to be honest, because it seems like a really odd way to like depreciate your IP, but
Right.
also like it's a weird capitulation to this whole idea of like, AI siphoning everything.
It's very
Anyway,
modern. I think that's actually very
I
progressive
suppose, yeah,
of
you're right.
the Getty because they're notoriously, having worked with them and met people who work with them, they're notoriously very slow and very like not that. So that is actually like kind of cool. Is that the right move? I don't know. But like that is interesting in a lot of ways. And I think that yeah.
I mean, it is intriguing. I mean, Campbell, what if you had access to all of the artworks in the world? What dumb consumer product would you make with them?
Question. I think I'd just make the next Beeple 500 days and sell it at auction
Ay
for
ay
like
ay.
40 million.
By the way, I just read a story recently about how Beeple's latest. Let me see if I can try to find some details on this. Beeple's latest project is an interactive bathroom.
Good for him. What a guy.
Isn't that just a bathroom?
Oh, that's a
Are there
good point.
non-interactive
Fair.
bathrooms?
Fair.
Can you imagine? Oh no. Okay, so sorry. It's an immersive art bathroom.
Sure.
Fully functional
Oh.
artwork is part of a large-scale project bringing culture to everyday encounters at China's Deji Plaza.
Oh.
Okay.
So, um, yes, Beeple has partnered with Chinese retail giant Deji Plaza to launch their first ever artist-designed public bathroom. It's located on the 8th floor of a building in the heart of Nanjing. It's in one of the mall's worry-free zones, a series of hyper-designed facilities that will turn the most mundane corner of a commercial complex into an immersive art experience.
Okay.
That's right, guys. Worry-free
That
art.
is
This is
Get
the art
to
that,
get to go use the Beeple toilet. That's awesome.
yeah.
I mean, look, there are a lot of things that we need to do with our bathrooms, and one of them is make them more
Yeah, you need slop
friendly
in
to
your
art.
bathroom. There's not enough slop in the bathroom. Put more in there.
That's true.
That was awful. That was awful. All right. Well, before we go, I did speaking of art and its responsibilities to the public. There was an interesting provocation in Monocle over the weekend. Um, in Andrew Tuck's editor's letter, which began 38. Lee Miller was sitting in Hitler's bathtub. Where are today's young photographers? And it is a sort of a broadside complaint about the fact that young photographers are not doing, or really not even that it is only old photographers who are doing the kind of notable and journalistic work through photography. I find this to be deeply reductive and sort of stupid, but I also think there's an interesting tenor to it that is worth investigating, which is like, what do young image makers care about, and is any of it important?
Mm.
That story, I was like, this is rage bait. Like it really, I was like, this.
Not from an outlet not known for its rage bait. Monocle typically
Yeah,
not
exactly.
a rage bait type place.
I was, I was like this, and I know Andrew Tuck's work. I was like, this, you're better than this, man. It was one of these things where I was like, this is so myopic. It's so just like discounting that, unfortunately, hello Instagram, the contract of like what and who a photographer is and can be and how that can become a living and how that can like those jobs just don't exist. And so like people are now doing it for love of the game in a lot of ways and or as a documenting history in real time. So now it's like unfortunately the Lee Miller now is like is a faceless nameless person that is born every day online. And so like that is like
Right.
that I think is a big like it's that's why in a lot of ways. But are there like really good millennial and Gen Z and Gen X and perhaps even Gen Alpha photographers? Absolutely. I was like, that's a little ridiculous to like not even do a Google search of like, yeah, like who.
You know, it's interesting that you don't have a Tyler Mitchell here mentioned.
Right.
You don't have
Not
I mean, or even somebody like
Cohen. I was just like,
even
this is like there were
yeah,
so many
that's it.
low hanging fruits. I was like, what? And like, granted, what he
Well,
was
even
sort of
or a Daniel Arnold who is more the documentarian style
absolutely
that Lee Miller participated in.
totally
Not to mention the fact that at 38 in 1945 was like it was old.
right.
Sorry, it just was.
It's true.
Whereas 38 in 2025 is you barely out of your teen years.
Very different. It made me wonder, and I didn't push on this, but like I would be very intrigued, and maybe I'll go back and leave a comment. Is like, this is a great point. Are you hiring any 35-year-old photographers for your website? Because like, if not, shut the fuck up. You're part of the problem. Like,
Yeah.
this is anyway. That was my take on it. Campbell, what did you think?
Sadly, I'm not sure that Monocle allows comments in that regard. Campbell,
Unsurprising.
who are the young? I'm interested to know who are the young artists that you're paying attention to.
I mean, young artist is sort of hard to define,
Sure.
but I'd say, I mean, I really like people who are sort of multifaceted. Like, there's this one person that I follow, Fuck This Industry with a D. He's friends with Troy Gibson, and he's got like in roots with like the Supreme people. But he runs a brand, and then he's also like a videographer and video editor. And he makes like these edits for when he's coming out with drops that I just think are really funny and creative. So that's someone I'm a big fan of. But
Can
I
I
like
just
to.
just very briefly because I'm gonna let you finish, but let me just say this quickly. I just Googled "fuck this industry" on Perplexity's Comet browser, and or I didn't Google it. I put it into the Comet browser into the search bar, and it comes back and says, "Sounds like you've had it with something in the industry. Maybe a bad experience or just burnout from how
Hilarious.
things operate. Want to unpack what's been frustrating you? Sometimes venting about part of what feels broken, the people, the work, the culture of the system helps clarify the next move."
God.
AI
This is what I
therapists are so
this is
try hard. Oh
that's
my
what I do
goodness.
not need from my AI browser. Anyway, Campbell, you were about to talk about somebody else.
Well, not about someone else per se, but I think the interesting thing bringing up that article that you just mentioned about like why are there no good or why are there no great young photographers? I think it's honestly because now everything can be a photo. Like everybody has
Right.
a phone that can take a camera. I feel like people are
Sure.
evolving more into it's less of this thing of like, well, we have this guy in what was it, Hitler's bathtub taking a
Sh
picture of him
Woman,
in his
to be very
oh, it's a
Lee
woman,
Miller's a
sorry.
woman, yeah.
My bad, guys. My bad. To have this woman in Hitler's bathtub taking pictures, I feel like the modern evolution of that is going to be like the guy who took a picture of Zoran Mamdani on the subway eating a burrito, except we just never get to know who that guy is
Right.
because
No,
everybody's a
exactly.
photographer.
Exactly.
It's all just going to, I think photography is eventually just going to be, it's just going to be like relics of like some guy who knew someone who later became important. And so that's how we're looking at it.
Yeah. Well, it's I think you're exactly right, and I think it also again to the unintentional point of the article is like it's up to the media industry, like all industries, as we know, to sort of elevate and celebrate younger talent and give them opportunities, which we know isn't happening across the board. Because, like, a good example is like to the Mamdani thing. I was like, oh yeah, there's that one photographer who keeps doing really good work about like young politics, and the photos are always so striking. Mark Peterson, I looked him up, and he's 70. So like that was a shock to me because I thought that guy was like 27.
Right.
But
sure.
like that's a good example of like, I'm sure that there is a younger photographer who is probably working in a similar style, doing similar things. I'm sure if I really think I could figure that out. But like that opportunity has gone to, and he's a really talented photographer, absolutely. However, it's all covering young politics, and like there's a joy in having someone so wise, let's say, who's able to capture things as they are in a way that maybe the young people being photographed do not realize. But the effect of it is not lost on the audience. And I think that because it's not lost on the audience, that then means that there is a photographer who is of that demographic who's able to do it. So like that, anyway,
Right.
all that being said, I think that's a good example of like what's not happening. And that's disappointing.
Well, then what we're going to have to do is band together with Stereogum to make a offline image library of work by young photographers.
Yeah, so team up with Fuck This Industry and Library
We're
180.
we're gonna have a show at a gallery, is what he means.
There we go.
I mean, let's go. By the way, I want to say one final thing though that does give me hope that these undercurrents still bubble, that the young image makers working in whatever medium can find a place. There was an article in ArtNet over the weekend about how the hottest galleries in New York are in someone's apartment, and
What are they, in LA?
having been to an exhibition at a gallery in an apartment on Friday, I have to say it and then having done a gallery walk on Saturday to a bunch of the big ones in Chelsea, it feels much more special and interesting when you walk into something that is a little bit of an if you know scenario, as opposed to like going into every door on a street and then running into the same people who are on the same running into the door on the street thing with UR. So yeah, maybe we're gonna it's the niche becomes truly small in terms of both its physicality and its renown.
That's what people keep saying, that the people without followers are the new people to follow or whatever. I'm like, okay. These are
Let's show some love to our low follower accounts out here. Our small accounts.
Listen,
we love you.
I've never
small
done
accounts
any...
are the backbone of internet culture.
Absolutely.
I mean,
the comment is the content.
I feel
like that.
Excluded yet again, because while I have never tried to cultivate any sort of real online following, my natural follower count exceeds the 500 follower limit, and so I can't be taken seriously in that regard.
Bear's just humble bragging. He's cool.
No, I'm
You're
saying
famous,
I can't win for losing. I can't win for losing. Well, I'm a witness of the
2.5K followers on Instagram.
I'm a witness for the 21st century. So there you
go.
Yeah. Put that on the old gravestone. Witnessed.
Well, you're going to be in charge, so get ready. Write that one down now so you don't forget. All right, well, guys, this has been a fun episode, guestless, or having our series producer Campbell join us as a guest. You can find him at, speaking of follower accounts, I am the Campbell Soup on Instagram, and you can find me at sick.substack.com, Kyle at 1234, Kyle5678.substack.com for his excellent The Trend Report. So please go and look after us. Campbell, by the way, is in stealth mode on a Substack. So
in progress.
And so we're going to start to see some new media expressions from series producer Campbell.
All right.
But anyway, Kyle, great to speak to you as always, Campbell.
Likewise.
Nice to talk to you.
Good
Thank
to
you
talk.
everybody for listening, and we'll be back next week.
See you later.
Peace.